Hello, my name is Guang Yang. I'm a senior program manager working at Microsoft. Today, I'm here to talk about PowerApps Azure Portal experience. Now, here I have the PowerApp Windows client open up here. So you can see that I have a lot of apps actually for me to use, and I can also create my own apps in PowerApp Studio. But what is behind the scene? What are the powerful backend that is supporting all these apps? Today, I'm going to show these in Azure Portal and tell you about why PowerApps is not only for business users, but also for IT admins and pro developers. So go back to the deck. So before I get into the portal, let me show you the actual overall architecture of PowerApps. So as you can see here in the middle, we have app service environment running in your Azure subscription, where you can deploy web app, mobile app, API app, and logic apps. We actually have a bunch of out-of-box APIs ready for use after you sign up for PowerApps already. And on top of that, we're exposing all these APIs in a unified way so that clients like PowerApps, web apps, mobile apps, and even desktop apps, and etc., can use them very easily. Now, and then in the bottom, so all these APIs, all these apps, actually, we allow them to connect to SaaS systems or cloud systems, as well as your on-premises system. So it's very, very powerful here. All right, let's go a little bit deeper to look at app service environment. Now, what is this app service environment? Well, first of all, it's the same great app service technology you know and love already. So if you're familiar with Azure, you're familiar with Azure App Service, you know everything you've learned, you can use it right away. Second, it is a dedicated environment in the cloud just for you. You don't have any noisy neighbors. You don't need to worry about how many computers you're using. This is your dedicated compute resource. And third, it also has virtual network support for better connectivity and security to your on-premise system, so that if your organization have a lot of APIs and data sitting on your own data center, with this virtual network support, it's very simple, it's very secure to connect them into your cloud system. So on top of the app service environment, we also add this API layer, which is available for all kinds of clients to consume. Now, a bunch of things to highlight for these APIs. First is that we have tons of out-of-box APIs ready to use. So after you buy PowerApps, you get them out of the box. For example, we have Dynamics CRM, Office 365, SharePoint Online and Server, Dropbox, Salesforce, OneDrive, Twitter, etc. And we're going to add them every single week. The second is that if all these out-of-box APIs are not satisfying your needs, you can always expose your own APIs. And these APIs can be hosted anywhere. It can be hosted in your app service environment. It can be hosted in an Azure VM. It can host it in other cloud systems. It can even host it in your on-premises systems. So anywhere, we can expose them in a standard way. Now, third, let's talk about security. All these APIs that we exposed, you get automatic AAD authentication so that only your company, only your organization will have access to. Now, on top of that, we also provide advanced user-based authorization. So as an admin, you can decide which particular user or which particular security group can actually get access to a particular API. So this fine granular control is very flexible and powerful. The fourth is that we have a standard API definition discovery mechanism, which is that you can describe your API in Swagger 2.0 format. So Swagger 2.0 is a very, very popular community-driven format to describe your API signature. And with this API definition, clients like PowerApps will be able to understand the shape of your API and then consume them from PowerApp client. Clients like Visual Studio, for example, can understand the API signature and generate strongly typed client libraries in different languages like .NET, Java, Node.js, etc. for pro developers to use. Last but not least, we also enable connectivities to SaaS systems, data in APIs, and on-premises. For example, if you want to talk to Twitter in your own way, or if you want to talk to, like, say, Office 365 in your own way, we help you to do that. If you have some database on premises running in your own data center, you want a secure connection and then very easy to expose it into your cloud system, we can help you to do that. Okay, enough talking. Let's go to Azure Portal and take a look. So here I am in Azure Portal today. As you notice that after you sign up for PowerApps, you have a PowerApps option in this browse. So you click this option, and you get into the PowerApps blade. Now let's take a look at the All Apps part first. Now in All Apps, you will see PowerApps. You will also see other apps like Logic apps, web app, mobile app, and API app that's running in your app service environment. So let's go into PowerApps and take a look. So here, as you can see, my organization have like more than 1,000 PowerApps running in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for a particular one and show you that what's inside. So I'm going to search for Shuttle, which is that we have a Microsoft Shuttle app written in PowerApp, which we can actually use to book shuttles between buildings. So let's take a look at this one. Now in here in the individual PowerApps blade, the first thing you see is that it actually tells you what are the APIs that you use. So they use a MS Service API, and it has a MS Shuttle API. Now all of these APIs are actually running in the app service environment, connecting to on-premises data actually Microsoft is using every day. So this is real, and this is very secure. So at the bottom, you can see that it also have this app user access. So if we go into app user access, you can see that it actually tells you who are the owner of this app, in this case Carla, and then who can actually have permission to use this app. So all these users are added either by the owner of the Power App or by IT admin. And you can also just click the Add button, choose a role, and then go into here to add more users. So in here, let's say if I want to add myself here, I'll just search for myself. So I search for my name. And this is looking at my AAD tenant. So find me, check it, click select, and then click OK. Now I am granting myself permission to use this Power App. So pretty cool. Okay, so let's go back to the Power App main blade and see what else do we have. So we have in settings this app service environment. So let's go inside this app service environment and take a look. So in this app service environment, you see manage APIs. So these are the APIs that you expose by yourself. You also see apps, and these are all the app service apps, web app, mobile app, logic app, and API app you have. Let's look at here to see, oh, okay, so these are all my apps. I can easily just click Add App and then add my own app in here. So I'm not going to show it here today, but as you can see that I already have a lot of app service app in here. And then if we go into one of the apps, for example, take a look at this one. This is a web app, and this will open the exact same web app blade that you already know how to use today. So you have all the web app capabilities right here in the settings blade. So very familiar yet very powerful. All right, so let's look at what else. So go back to this Power App blade. We also see manage APIs. So here are all the APIs that is available for your organization to use. And you can see that I actually have two categories. One is IT managed, one is Microsoft managed. So let's go inside and take a look. So first of all, I want to show you all the Microsoft managed APIs. So all these APIs are the out-of-box APIs that I mentioned that is ready for you to use. So after you sign up for Power Apps, you don't need to do anything. These APIs just let up for you automatically for your organization to use. Now in addition, we also have these IT managed APIs, and these are the APIs that your organization choose to expose, choose to add in this environment. So how can you do that? You can click this Add button. In here, you can give your API name, and then you can choose from different sources. For example, you can choose from available APIs, and then all these out-of-box APIs that are available for you already, you can actually provision your own instance. And the benefit of doing this is that it's not running in a shared environment, it's in your dedicated environment. It doesn't really have all the quotas, all the throttling that you need to bear in a shared environment. So you get the benefit of that. You can choose the second option, which is from APIs hosted in your app service environment. So if you click this guy, what this UI does is that it is actually looking into your app service environment, look to see what are the API apps and web apps and mobile apps that expose a Swagger API definition. So in this case, I have 4 of them, so I can just easily pick one of them. And then I can give this API name, and then I am adding this API. Now finally, you can also add a API by importing a Swagger file manually. Now this is very, very convenient if you have your API running somewhere else, let's say in your own data center already. You just need to give us a Swagger 2.0 file, and then we will connect everything all together. All right. So let's go back and find find a few of APIs to look at what we have there. So we talk about this Microsoft Shuttle app, PowerApp, which is using the Microsoft Shuttle API. So let's see whether we can find it here. Let's take a look. Okay, so this is the Microsoft Shuttle API. Let's drill down and see what's in here. Well, so first of all, it has connections, and then they have API user access. So let's look at what's in the connections. So click connections. Now here you see that what's happening is that it actually shows you all the users who is actually using this API, who is connecting to this API. Now in this case, because the Microsoft Shuttle API is protected by AAD, and it is it has the user context within this code flow. So here for each connection, it actually represents a user. So the user's actual AAD access token is in here, encrypted securely, storing in our platform. So whenever there is a new user using this API, they will show up in here in the connection side, and you can manage them here. What about this API user access part? So this is actually telling you who can actually use this API. Now in this case, I have myself, and I have applet employee, which is a security group, have everybody in my organization. You can click add, and then you can grant more people permission. And again, this can be a single user in your AD tenant, or it can be a security group. So very powerful. Actually, this Microsoft Shuttle API, I didn't read any code to say, yeah, it has to be AAD protected, but by the virtue of importing it into PowerApps, you get this AAD authentication for free. AD authentication and authorization for free. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at another one. So I'm going to show you this SQL Server. So we have a SQL Server API here. So this API is a little bit different from the Microsoft Shuttle API because it doesn't have a AAD user context per se. It is using connection string to connecting to existing SQL database. So we can see that there is one connection in here which is called sales data. I can just click add and then give it a display name. I can give the SQL connection string to let it connect to a different database. So it's not like you can only have one API connecting to one database. You can connect to multiple databases as you want. So it's very lightweight, very flexible. So we can also go into this sales data and see what's in here. So this connection. Now in here we have the connection user access. And again, I can just click this connection user access. I can see who actually has permission to this particular connection. Now in this case, will be this particular SQL database. Now, as you can see, I have a security group and I have a single user. Again, you can click add button here, and then you can add more users and security groups. Now, last, I want to show you what's even more we have in an API. So we go back and find this. Let's find this SQL Server API again. So let's look into the settings. So we have general settings, which just lets you change the display name, some configuration. We have API definitions. This is where the API definition of your API. You can go here and upload a new one if you want. But what's really interesting is this policy chevron. So in here, what it does is that actually we are supporting full Azure API management policy. So you can upload a policy file here, or you can manually just change your policies. So this is really powerful because then you can leverage already existing knowledge about Azure API management. You can add policies like, hey, I want to put some throttling here. I want to transform my API shape a little bit so that it's easier for business users and pro devs to use, etc. So the flexibility is really here. All right, so this is all I have today. To learn more, you can go to PowerApps.com, and you can go to Azure.com and find the PowerApp documentations. Also find me on Twitter That's my Twitter handle for any additional questions. Thank you.